Good morning, everybody. We are, I don't know who joined. Okay. Well, today we are going to talk about complexity. It's kind of a difficult subject sometimes to talk about because, well, as you know, complexity seems to be like some kind of a monster, as I said a while back. To some authors because complexity this and complexity that is very difficult to cope with complexity. However, we live in a complex world, so I think we have to be a little more aware of that. And there will be times then when complexity seems unbearable, yes, but we have to understand a bit more of how we can live with it because it's what we do every day. Every day we live in a complex world. We get up in the morning and go out to traffic, and traffic is a complex thing also. We can't completely understand today how the weather works, for example. So those kind of things are kind of the complexity we are living in. So if you realize, for example, as I was saying about the weather, we have some predictions we can make. As humans, and actually, if you realize the chances are almost 50-50, so we don't have a predictable good thing to a good method to predict weather. So it's just a thing we have to live with. So sometimes I see so many people here going with their umbrellas on the streets, and there's a terrible sun, terrible sunny day. Well, that's just the way it is. We have to live with that. And so I was thinking it's kind of fun sometimes. Of course, it's not fun if you are the one with a with the umbrella all day and it's terrible sun outside. But it's kind of funny sometimes because we try to hide things that seem complex, but they keep coming, and every day we are living in a more complex and complex world. It's getting more complicated every day. So I was reading about several models. I won't be talking about models right now, but there are so many things you can look up. For example, there's the Canevin model, the Stacy matrix, BLSI, CCM. There are so many things you can read about how to model complexity, how to understand it. But I think that's not the topic we are having today. And that's because we can talk so much about complexity and actually get into nowhere. So I I would like to talk about more as something that's living with us every day, and we just have to live with it. So no matter what model you are using, or you try to understand different complex systems, it's just the way it is. And I wanted to refer just to a law, the Tesla law, and that person, I think it's about 50s or 60s, that law from that time. Tesla is a programmer that he understood at that time that complexity is just a part of the things we have to cope with. So he said that complexity is he talks about the conservation law of complexity. So whatever system you are trying to make work, you have to be aware that complexity will go nowhere. So, for example, let me give you an example. If you are trying to make a product that's simple for the user, it will surely be complex to develop. Um, and the other way around. If you want something easy to develop, maybe the result will be a complex system to use. So I think that's again another kind of proof, let's say, or empirical proof that the way it works. So what can we do about it? Because if complexity will be around us all the time, all we can do is try to understand it. Maybe try to put some signifiers, as one of my favorite authors on the topic says. Try to make sense of this, of some aspect, because if it's so complex, the system you're trying to understand, maybe you won't be able to completely get the idea of different things that are moving in the system. And also, every time you touch a little thing in the system, it will cause the domino effect. So if you change something, there will surely be consequences that will modify the whole system in ways that you may not even realize. Uh, Let me think of an example. Well, one of the most um, curious for me examples is the Borneo Cats. Um, I think I've already told about this somewhere, um, because there was malaria in the Borneo Island, and the idea people had was, at the time, it was kind of in the 40s or something. So it was after the world wars. Um, the only thing they knew that was very effective to kill malaria and other insects that causes malaria, like mosquitoes, was the DDT. And you know, DDT is a very toxic uh, liquid to um, to throw, and it also caused after the wars and all those times, it is actually prohibited, because DDT is the cause of many death and cancers and very terrible diseases. And well, they said, what can we do to kill malaria? All they knew that it was that DDT was a very good insect killer. So they spread all over the island DDT. And of course, they did kill mosquitoes, they did kill malaria, but they also killed some bees and some other insects that were helpful for the environment. So they caused an unbalanced um, state for the environment. And what happened there was that one thing and another, it started to kill people also. Besides the DDT that haven't spread on the island, also people died because there were so many rats proliferating. They started to grow the population of rats because the environment was kind of very imbalanced. And they didn't know what to do, because nobody could enter into the island, because they would get the oh, I think it was the I don't know the name in English, but it was kind of a fever that killed the population. So what they ultimately decided to do was to throw cats. That was crazy, and sometimes you could say a silly idea, to throw cats in parachutes. They were coming from from the air. Uh, so many cats could kill the rats, and then the plague was kind of um, killed. But anyway, um, besides that, besides that, well, actually, ultimately, they did kill the rats, and it was all okay. But people remain with at least 20 years with the these consequences from the DDT. I don't know if it's still killing people there, but sometimes we don't have this idea of a complex system, that anything we do and any action we take into a complex situation can actually cause very unknown results, and there will always be unknown good and bad results. So what we can do again, um, they of course didn't know DDT was so dangerous. They thought it was good to kill malaria, to kill the mosquitoes, but in the long term, that idea of throwing DDT was very bad. Um, and on the other side, we have simplicity, where there's nothing complex. The other end is simple. So how we can make things more simple or simple enough? Because there is also other thing I was thinking about. Sometimes we think we don't like complexity and we like things to be simpler. But if we did actually like that, we would be living maybe in caves, and of course I'm going to extreme, but maybe would be living, I don't know, in the fields and making our own bread, and also cultivating our farm produce, our dairy products. But of course, we don't like that simple life. That's so simple for us, at least in our modern times. So many times when I'm talking to designers, they have in their idea in their head that they want things to be simple for the user, but they maybe are not being aware that making things so simple for the user are complicated things for the developers, or the other way around. The developers want things to be simple, but they are actually difficult for the user. So you have to bear in mind when you are developing a product or a service or something, is what is the client, I wouldn't say need, but I would say want, because sometimes what they need may be not what they want. And we know the clients may say, we want something simple, something to be very simple. But actually, when you make that thing simple for them, they don't actually buy it. And that happens because we want things to be simple, but not quite. We want something to be kind of simple, but it also have the features we want. For example, I was talking to a friend the other day, and he said, I just want a cell phone just to make calls, phone calls. And I said, did you really want that? Because if you just want a cell phone to make calls, you wouldn't maybe needed a cell phone. You want your cell phone to have apps, and you want your cell phone to have you can take pictures, not only talk to another person. So if we are really aware of the needs versus the things that people want, they are two different things. And maybe you do a very simple product, you create a very simple product, but your client won't want it because it's too simple, or because I don't know, they want more features or they want more things. So you have to really understand what or how complex or simple something you want to make is. I mean, the first things you need is to be able to communicate better with your clients, with the people around you. Um, you have also to be more creative, which is kind of an overlooked skill nowadays. But I think creativity um, will be actually the most valuable skill in the next years and the near future, because we need people to be able to create different things, new things, but actually not also to create, but also to understand better the people around them. So I would say the creativity can be really helpful here. Also taking action, because just having ideas is not um, a solution itself. You have to actually be able to make the solutions, to create them, to make them tangible. And another thing is to um, that another skill that will be needed, I think, is the skill of thinking in systems, thinking in the big picture, thinking in a different way, in a more wide world. Um, because everything, as I said, we are getting into a more complex, and every day is more complex, and we need to be able to have these three skills. So it will be um, system thinking, or I don't know if system thinking per se, because it's so overcharged, this term, but well, you get the idea. To be able to think in the big picture, to be able to come up with different ideas, and also to execute them. And well, I would say that's the same. Create ideas and execute them, and also the communication. I think those are the most important skills to be cultivating today. So, and I guess you are in this world, and I guess you have a job, or you work in something you like, um, and you want to develop your own skills. Those are the ones that you'll be looking into nowadays. And well, I was a little going off topic there, but I think they are also complementary to complexity. Mm, complexity, I would say, works, or complexity in life. So, if you want to deal with this complexity, that's what you have to do. You have to be able to understand yourself, others, to connect, to really connect deeply with people, to be conscious of what other people want, and to be conscious also about the world around you. I mean, not in or maybe yes, in in a conscious spiritual way, but in a way that you have to be aware of what's going on around you, and how you can cope with different things, and how can you bring solutions to the table. And maybe you have also to be aware of the collective wisdom you can get. I mean, maybe you don't have the full capacity to understand something on your own, so you will have people around you to be able to take action and to execute these complex solutions. And also be aware that if you try to take out complexity, it will show up in some other way. So um, once again, that's just the way it is. So um, what else? Well, about complexity, well, I think it's funny, because otherwise it would be kind of boring to be living in this world with just simple things. As I was saying, we want some kind of challenge in our lives. So I think complexity is that kind of challenge that we need to move forward, to improve, to keep on progressing, because otherwise we'll be kind of bored, or living in the medieval medieval stages of for life, or maybe living in caves, as I was saying. Um, so we need this kind of complexity to move forward. And well, I think that's all for now. And I would like you to comment on what's your take on this topic, what's your view, and well, what else would you do to cope with complexity? I think those are just the three things I would add from my side, and I hope you like them, and that you can reflect on yourself, and also come up with your own ideas. That's the main thing, and that's how we and the people we need in the world right now. We need people who can think in the big picture, who can actually get other points of view, and who can come up with solutions that are really creative. So I'll leave you to that and have fun and see you next Thursday. Bye bye.